Hi everyone, this is Selena Kraus and welcome to another card video. In this video, I'll show you how to make this card using LDRS Creative Love and Bloom stamp set along with a few of their ink pads, the Eyelet lace rectangle die, and the new Sincerely Yours pattern paper pack. So we're going to be using few of the colors of the hybrid ink colors for the layering. So for the flower, we'll be using Pink Tutu, Lipstick Jungle, and Scarlet Rose. And for the leaves, we'll be using Olive Branches and Evergreen. So let's get started. I'm starting with a piece of white cardstock, and we're gonna start stamping the layers. I'm making few at a time, kind of mass producing, so I can have those for future use. So I'm starting with the first layer, which is the lightest layer of the rose and the little rosebud, and I'll be using the pink tutu for that. So making sure that my paper is nice and secure there, and then I'm just stamping. So here I did not have the flower wasn't covered nicely with the ink, so I stamped twice. I'm repeating the process a few times. So I have some of those roses on hand for future use. So next what we'll do the second layer, and I'm using the Lipstick Jungle, which is a little bit darker pink, and it's more kind of a rose pink. So I lined up the stamps and then I picked them up with the lid of the Misty tool. I'm inking them up with the Lipstick Jungle and then stamping. And here you can notice how the rose has more dimensions and it looks more real. And I'm repeating for every single image that I stamp with the first layer. So I'm kind of speeding up the process here. So next we're moving on the last layer, and this last layer is only for the rose, and I'll be using the Scarlet Rose stamp ink pad. And this rose and the leaves are very easy to line up, so you can see here that was how easy it was, and you will see how much more dimension that third layer adds to the rose. So I'm repeating the process again. As I did before, I'm stamping the third layer on every single rose. So next we'll stamp the leaf, and I'm using first I'll do the solid layer, and I'll use the Olive Branch hybrid ink pad to stamp that layer. So I have the little cube here, and I'll stamp a few of those too. Again, I'll save the remaining ones that are that won't be used for future use for different cards when I'm in a crunch and need a quick card. So as well for the second layer, it's very easy to line up. So I'm lining it up here and pick it up with the lid of the Misty. And I'll be using the Evergreen hybrid ink pad to stamp that second layer. See how those roses and leaves now come to life. So I'll put those away for now. We have a bunch of those. And next I'm using the Eyelet lace rectangle die set. I'll be using only the rectangle die to die cut a panel from white cardstock. So just trim that to size, and I'm running it through my die cutting machine. So there's my little rectangle. So now I'm trying to pick which sentiment I wanted to use. So I decided to use You're Too Kind. And I'll be using the Sincerely Yours Designer pattern paper pack. And I'm pulling out a few of the patterns to see which one I'll like to use when it comes to assemble the card. So I pulled out a few that are more kind of with geometric shapes like little dots or lines like plaid or just stripes. So I'm cutting out the leaves and the flowers here to see which one I wanted to use. So I decided to go for the pattern paper. I decided to go with the black with white polka dots. So I'll trim that designer paper, pattern paper to 4 by 5 1/4. And next I'll stamp the sentiment onto some black cardstock. I'm just lining it up towards the top because we'll cut a strip. So I'm applying the anti-static powder tool or powder to my cardstock so the embossing powder when I apply it doesn't stick. So I'll use some white embossing powder, pour over the sentiment, flick the excess, and then I'll use my heat tool to melt that embossing powder. Now once we are done, we'll just trim that to a strip and then trim the ends, and we have our sentiment there. So next what I'll do, I'll stamp the little branches onto my white panel, the white rectangle, and I'll use the olive branch ink pad. So I'm just lining those up where I want them to be to kind of create symmetrical image onto that panel. So I'm just inking it twice, stamping, and then I'll adhere all my elements onto that little rectangle panel. So I'm using some foam mounting tape or any 3D adhesive. I'm just adding those, and I'll add the leaves on the bottom. Next I'll adhere the sentiment again using foam mounting tape because I have a black cardstock. I'm using here black tape. Next again using some fun foam, I'll adhere that rectangle panel onto my piece of the pattern paper. But before that, I'm preparing my card base. I'm using white cardstock and I made a top folding note card. Now I'm just adding that adhesive on the back of my image panel, and I'm adding that fun foam and then adhering to my piece of pattern paper. Lining it up, making sure that it's centered. And then to finish off the card, I'm adhering it to my white note card using some liquid adhesive. I'm going to make sure that it's all lined up properly. And as a last touch, I'll be adding some green Nuva drops. Once you're done adding the Nuva drops, set your card aside to dry before you can handle or even mail it. So here is the quick look of the finished card. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, as well visit the LDRS Creative blog for more inspiration and more ideas. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye.